Today Lotus stopped by to say hello to everybody. Say hello Lotat. I say her name with a Thai accent, Lotat, because a wonderful Thai lady that I know, when I got her as a kitten, used to come over and say Lotat tat tat, Lotat tat tat. Of course her name is Lotus, but in heavy Thai it's Lotat. Okay. And I named her Lotus. Oh, actually the same as my mala. I named her Lotus because the lotus is ever unfolding wisdom, realization, and understanding. Today I want to talk with you about being alone. And I know a whole lot about that. There's many ways of being alone, and there's many causes of being alone, and there's many experiences of being alone, and they vary and they're quite different, yet all of them are aloneness. So the first impression that most people will instinctually, unconsciously maybe, have when they think of alone is inadequate, vulnerable, out of place, missing something. Okay? This is totally subjective and projected. So we just want to release all of our own inner conditioning and biases and knee-jerk impressions about what these words mean, and just look at them blankly. Look at them without any evaluation or judgment or even necessarily pre-definition. Okay? So let's start first with causes of aloneness. Well, of course, there is abandonment that can cause aloneness. There is also deliberately chosen withdrawal, choosing to withdraw. And then they're very different experiences, aren't they? Abandonment as a cause of aloneness is going to create a tremendously different experience of being alone than one of deliberately chosen withdrawal from the collective for a time of recharge, reflect, replenish. Okay? And so if you choose to withdraw from the collective for your own personal needs, again, to recharge, renew, replenish, restore, rejuvenate, and also to return, a lot of RE words there, return within to reconnect to self, then this we call solitude. I find solitude to be the nectar of the soul. I not only love it, I not only crave it, I not only need it, but I insist upon it. And that's why I live alone as a hermit. Of course, I have my cat family as well. But so we'll call that solitude. And solitude is very self-nurturing, healing, restorative. It is necessary, and we all need it. We all need it. In contrast would be, if you were abandoned or if you were feeling abandoned, well, then you would feel dejected, rejected, unwanted, alone, and that would feel like a punishment, being outcast. So that's a very different kind of alone, and none of us needs that. And then there is loneliness. I get cranky about this one. I get really turned off with what I call toxic positivity. Whenever you see a quote, I can't remember who said it as usual, but if you are feeling lonely, it is because you are not connected to yourself. Okay. wonderful empty platypus there, as I call it, an empty platitude. Another empty platypus. Loneliness is a reality of life, and if you never, ever experience loneliness, I'd like to know what species you are, and what star group you come from, and what number incarnation this is as an ascended master. Because for the overwhelming majority of carbon-based humanoid life forms, loneliness happens. Yes, it can be caused by disconnection from yourself, absolutely. But it doesn't mean that that's the only cause, and it doesn't mean that it never happens, and it doesn't mean that it never should happen. It happens. Sometimes we're lonely. If we're lonely, and if you have the energy and the ability at the time that you're lonely to look within introspectively and try to ask, send out the question, why am I feeling lonely? What is it that is making me feel lonely? What is at the root of my loneliness? Send that out. Don't put it up here and jiggle it around in your intellect. The answers are never there for these things. But send out the question and let the answer come to you. Maybe in a moment, maybe in weeks, could be anything. But loneliness is a reality of the human condition. Our existence includes loneliness, just as it includes pain, suffering, regret, hate, evil, things that we would love to be otherwise, but that are so. Okay? So, sometimes, let's look at one example with loneliness. Maybe somebody is feeling lonely, and they're saying, I feel really lonely right now. Why am I lonely? Because I am craving and missing what I am currently lacking, which is maybe a romantic partner, for example. I miss my ex. I miss having that feeling that my ex and I had together when we were together. I miss that. And of course, we always, we reminisce in the past, especially about past relationships, with rose-colored glasses. We forget all the times that in the same experience we were saying, well, I'm really not so okay with that thing. And we only remember the sentimental, romantic, pleasant, poofy, glittery, rainbow, teddy bear kind of stuff. And it wasn't usually comprised of only those things. But we tend to idealize when we recollect and reminisce on past relationships. But what it is that we're probably missing is that sense of feeling loved, wanted, belonging, protected, safe, at peace, whole. Those are probably very close to what anybody would say in that moment if they were able to look within and see honestly without judgment. Now, are those things, the question to ask is, are those things only available outside of myself, externally, from another? No, they are not. They're nice to have. It's comfortable. It's reassuring. It is. We're meant to be social creatures. Okay? But first, cultivate them within your own self. Because in the first place, I did an episode called If You Want to Be Loved. I recommend it to everybody. If you want to be loved, first you must love and accept and embrace yourself genuinely, fully, without any resistance or hesitation at all. You've got to be completely resolved and at peace with you before you could ever offer that to somebody else. And it's very unfair, even if unintentional, to look to someone else to fill that for you. That won't work, and the other person will eventually come to resent you for it, even if unconsciously, because it's not fair to put that on somebody else. A relationship is a sharing of walking side by side through life together. Companionship and partnership. Not, I lack these things, you give them to me. Or, or even worse in today's world, how so many blasphemously entitled people would even say or feel something like, you owe it to me, shut up and hand it over. I deserve it from you. You will provide it. Wow. Let's not get with anyone like that. And let's not be anything like that. So, when we're experiencing loneliness, we might ask, why am I feeling lonely? What is it that I'm sensing? Okay, a lack. I'm missing something. I'm reminiscing. I'm feeling sentimental for something, for a feeling that I used to have when I was with somebody else, etc. Well, it's okay to share those things with somebody, but don't look for them. Don't search and seek for them in another, but rather cultivate them, find them, cultivate them, and bring them up to their fullness within yourself, and then share that frequency of being with somebody else, most preferably who has also done the same work within themselves, and then can offer true companionship and partnership with you. See, because before you begin to enter into a relationship with somebody, you might want to ask, so what unresolved inner shadow work do you have yet to do? Because it's going to be completely affecting you, and vice versa. So, as I've quoted a million times, Ramana Maharshi and Ram Dass said it in their own way. Best thing you could ever do for me is work on you. Best thing I could ever do for you is work on me. Okay? So that's addressing loneliness. When we choose to withdraw into solitude, which may be just a couple of hours, or it may be a lifestyle, such as for someone like me. But if I were, a young, busy mom, I do very much understand how incredibly rare, precious, and hard to get solitude is. I know there's a lot of moms out there that would say, I can't even sit on the toilet alone. I'm not going to tell you I can relate to that. I understand what you're saying, but I would not be able to get by with so little solitude. And so on one hand, I commend people that get by on so little, but on the other hand, I wouldn't want it, and I wouldn't recommend it. To me, it's something that would occur only if it is absolutely unavoidable, So for people like that, stillness, silence, and solitude are like unobtainium, and I don't admire it, and I don't wish it on anybody. But maybe your solitude is for an hour. Maybe your solitude is a lifestyle. When you are immersed in that solitude, you need to make good use of it. And again, I'm not trying to imply or present in any way myself as a master of having perfected all these things. I'm just sharing what I've learned where I'm at with who will receive it to do as they will with it. By the way, that creaking is the bamboo swaying in the breeze above me. So it's not like there's a door open. So anyway, you have to make good use of your solitude. Now, what defines good use? Well, there's more than one good use of your solitude, but anything that steers or moves towards the reconnecting is definitely the right track. Reconnection. Reconnection with what? Yourself. And self. And nature. And spirit. And divinity. And God. And creation. And peace. And whatever replenishes and reconnects you to your fullest level and vibration and frequency of being. Whatever restores you back the most to full living. I have come to bring you life and life more abundantly. Okay? Anything that feeds you and purifies you and reconnects you and clarifies and pacifies you away from all that is toxic, disconnected, unhelpful, distractionary, then it is the right track. Oh, does that mean that I have to do a 4-hour silent meditation session, never blinking and moving my body, can't even scratch an itch or swat a mosquito? No, you can do it that way if you want, but that's not necessary. But what is the goal is reconnect, because we live in a world that is bombarding us by design, if you ask me. Not that the world is that way, but the way humanity has engineered itself at this point. So I don't mean the planet, but I mean the way the system of humanity and the way it is today is absolutely bombarding us with everything that detracts and distracts and diminishes us and disconnects us. Everything is a detraction, distraction, diminisher, and disconnector, as far as the noise and chatter and wave after wave after wave of information and fear porn and media and news and music tuned to the god-awful 440 megahertz instead of the true frequency of the note A, which is 432, not 440. Do you know that when they redefined what the frequency of the note A would be, which is the note that every orchestra tunes to, do you know that it lost several overtones? Because a note is never one note, it's always a group of notes, like in a lineage. And when they turned it to 440, it lost several of the overtones. In other words, it detracted from the divine frequency of 432. 528 is another good one, as you probably know. So the world is not here. I shouldn't say the world. The system of humanity, the human system as we've created it to be so far, or have allowed it to become at this point, is another way of saying it, is not doing us any favors at all. Look at social media. Oh, social media is so great. It's connecting everybody. We have access to everything. Information has never been so easy to obtain. People have never been more miserable, lost, depressed, suicidal, angry, empty, confused, and wrecked ever before in history, if you ask my humble opinion. And I think that social media is, for all of the good things that it does enable, it's a pariah to the human soul. And yet here I am talking to you on BitChute or YouTube, which is kind of like a social media in a way. But so there's the irony. Just like when I once read in a book a statement that denounced books as having none of the answers. You'll never find all the answers in books. And I read that in a book. So there's the paradox of things. But your solitude is precious, and your solitude should be chosen, and your solitude is soul food. And your solitude does not mean zoning out for 3 hours watching videos on, TikTok or some other app that you should not be using because it is a spy app of the CCP. But anyway, I digress. That's not solitude. Just being alone is not necessarily solitude. Being alone means nobody else is with you, but I'm saying solitude is a quality, experiential event of aloneness turned within introspectively by means of contemplation or meditation or just quiet rest with your cat or watching birds or sitting in front of your aquarium, just letting the chatter and relentless barrage of toxic noise of our humanity's systems go away, to where you will naturally begin to return on whatever level you are able and willing to a connection, a reconnection to self. Now, I would say that as part of your wellness regimen, as part of your spiritual sadhana, just as it's very important. You see, everything matters and everything affects everything. It's always important to remember that. Everything matters and everything affects everything. If your diet is really crap, how do you expect your mental and emotional and physical and spiritual aspects to be top shape? How could you? And if you're filling your mind with garbage, fear porn, or even regular porn, sensationalist, frightening news headlines and all this kind of stuff, I really hope that you are still not watching television news or too much of it on the internet either. Please get that as close to zero as you can. Not that you don't care and you don't want to know anything about it, but that you want to withdraw from being its prisoner. Most people are unconscious zombie slaves to this pulse of fear and worry and darkness that's blast out over all platforms and media. And just withdraw yourself from it as much as you can. Excuse me. So think of solitude and what you choose to experience with your solitude as an integral part of your wellness regimen. And the other thing is that for some people, maybe they need a half hour of solitude in a day, and they're fine. They're really okay with that. They have a very high quality meditative experience. Maybe they do centering prayer. Maybe they do mantras. Maybe they do actual, legitimate, real yoga. Maybe they do qigong, tai chi, or maybe they sit and look at birds, But whatever it is that they do, maybe that's enough for them. And for somebody else, they may need a lifetime, a lifestyle of solitude, such as the hermit, the recluse, the saint, the fakir, the sadhu. It seems that the people who tend to attain to the highest frequencies are the ones who have allotted for themselves the greatest degree of solitude in order to reach that. But the point is that everything comes down to balance. And what is balance for you? What is the point of balance for you? How much solitude is the right balance for you? It doesn't matter the person to your left or right. It doesn't matter. Everyone's different. For me, lifestyle. I need that. I crave that. I insist on that. I also, admittedly, experience a tremendous degree of loneliness, coupled sometimes with restlessness and other things like that go along with it, because I haven't yet mastered the subtle art of living in true liberated solitude. I haven't gotten there yet, but I've lived in solitude for years. This platform, this channel, is a fruit of that. 20 years ago, I would never have been able to do this. But, everything comes at a cost. Everything is a trade-off. What is priority for you? What is balance for you? How much engaged social interaction, hopefully meaningful? Because another point I'll give you is I highly recommend that you engage in as little 3D chit-chat and 3D small talk as possible. Avoid it at the point avoid it to the point of seeming rude. Just give none of yourself to it anymore. But engaging meaningful interaction and connection and companionship with very high awareness, high quality, pure people. Definitely great. So maybe for you that means interacting with a lot less people, but interacting more with a select chosen few who you have come to recognize are really great souls. You know a couple of them right now. So maybe it's a matter of prioritizing the investment of your time and energy. And let the riffraff go. Let the fodder blow away. We only have so much time and so much energy each day. Choose wisely how you invest it. And cultivate your solitude in the amount and degree and nature and content of what keeps you most well. And I encourage everyone to increase the amount of solitude that they have in their lives if they can. Thank you.